sits at the center of the narrative of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Without the holiness of God, there would be no moral law to which every human being is responsible. Without the holiness of God, there would be no divine anger for sin. Without the holiness of God, there would be no perfect Son sent as an acceptable sacrifice for our sin. Without the holiness of God, there'd be no vindication of the resurrection. Wow! Without the holiness of God, there would be no final defeat of Satan. Without the holiness of God, there'd be no hope of a new heaven and a new earth where holiness will reign over us and in us forever. And it's true that the biblical story would actually not be the biblical story if it were not written and controlled at every point by one who was holy all the time and in every way. You know, there's so much more to God than we can ever imagine, but you know, this is sort of, I just think about right now, I just think about Simon Peter and the boat, you know. I just think about Simon Peter and Jesus said to Simon, don't be afraid, from now on you'll fish for people. You know, so they pulled up their boats on the shore, they left everything and followed him. And these are the sons of Zebedee too. Sons of Zebedee are coming up today. But they left everything. And these guys were just commercial fishermen, right? They were just living their best life. They were fishing. There was their boats and their nets there. You know, you can imagine it. Again, we're asking for your imagination. And they fished all night. They fished all night. They hadn't caught anything, not one thing. It sounds familiar? Anyone else like fishing? And so they're fixing their nets in the hope that they might, and Jesus speaking to the people, but they're crowding him, and you know, so he gets in the boat and he tells Simon just to push off a little bit, you know, just maybe from here to there, so that he could be away from the people pressing in on him, and so that he had a little bit of space. You imagine it? Can you see it? And a little bit of breathing room for Jesus. So he sat down, he taught the people. We don't know what he said because this account doesn't say anything about what he said. But he spoke, it's not recorded, but when he finished, he turned to Simon and said, let's go to the deep water and catch some fish. and you know, it's like Simon Peter's like, Master, you know, I just worked all night, I haven't caught one thing. You know, what makes you think I'm going to be able to go out there and catch anything? And he said, you know, Simon Peter just said, just because you say so, I'll do it. Just because you say so, Lord. I know it brings me to tears. Just because you say, Lord, I'll do it. Could we be like that? Just because Jesus says, be holy as I am holy, could we just do it because he says? So, but what happens? Like, it's not a bad thing to do what Jesus says. It's such a good thing. So he gets in the boat, they go out, and what happens? Oh, where they catch more fish than they can ever fit in their boats. 153. Just because Jesus said, they were blessed. Not only, this is the thing about Jesus, isn't it? Not just Peter and his lifestyle and his family were blessed. The whole community had fish. Just because you say so, Lord. Just because you say so. So he goes out, he's got all his fish, and I guess that Jesus is just standing there with a big grin on his face. Is there anything impossible for God? No. Nothing is impossible for God. Amen. This holy God. But everyone is waiting for him.